Alright guys, today I'm going to be reacting to something that you guys have been dying to see. I've seen it in my comments hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of times. It's Illegal Acts by Lil Squizzy featuring Young Mason. Now, I have not heard of either of these rappers, and I have not heard of this song until today, going through my comments. You guys were dying to see it. Now, for what I'm reading about it, it's the hottest song to come out of Ligonier, Indiana. Now, there's a lot of talent in Ligonier, Indiana, but apparently these guys are the cream of the crop down there. I guess we're going to have to find out. It's 2 minutes and 52 seconds, so let's strap ourselves in. Alright, let's go. Alright, so from what I'm hearing, this sounds awful. This Lil Squizzy fellow sounds like possibly the worst rapper to ever walk this earth. His voice is unbearable. The only thing that saves it is amazing production from, who's the producer? Young Mason himself. You know, his production is like really helping the voice, you know, not hurt my ears so much. But other than that, this is completely terrible. This might be the worst sorry excuse for rap I've ever heard in my life. I'm disgusted, but let's keep going.
Whole crew commit illegal acts, yeah, we riding Cadillacs. It's been 100 wrecks, yeah, I flipped a couple packs. Whole crew commit illegal acts, yeah, we. It's been 100 wrecks, yeah, I flipped a couple packs. Whole crew commit illegal acts, yeah, we riding Cadillacs. It's been 100 wrecks, yeah, I flipped a couple packs. Whole crew commit illegal acts, yeah, we.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, and now I don't know this for fact, but if I had to make a guess, I would say Lil Squizzy is very bad at saying his lines. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like when in the studio, he really stumbled and stuttered on a lot of his words. He couldn't really get the lines out properly. They had to cut up a lot of his verses and put them together and all that. He sounds like he just really had a hard time saying anything, which makes a lot of sense because his verse is so far terrible. It's awful. Like, there's nothing good about it. So it just makes sense that he really struggled to get these bars out because, like, this is an embarrassment.
Diamond chains on my whole crew. Pop a champagne, grip a 22. I'm a hurricane, call me Andrew. Don't step to me, that's what a fan do. I'm a money man, call me Mr. Travis. Money Mayweather with the power jabs. Knock you out, it'll be my pleasure. Don't diss on me, I'm a hidden treasure. Too much to say, a strap on my waist. Your girl's on my place, she's giving me face. Your girl's telling me when she's about to catch a case. And I can't fall in love, you gotta give me space. Got bars like I'm credit cause I'm trying to be great. I'm dropping this song cause I'm trying to get paid. I'm feeling betrayed, he's trying to get sprayed. Was featuring up, but just threw a parade.
Alright, so that's the end of Lil Squizzy's verse. It was terrible. That honestly might be one of the worst verses I've ever heard in my life. I think it would go down for the worst verse of 2020, possibly worst verse of the decade, possibly worst verse of all time. There was no bright side to it. You can tell that as he was writing these bars, Young Mason had to try and touch him up for him because he just had such terrible, terrible bars that just couldn't even be rapped. So you can tell that Young Mason really tried to make this a good song, but he just could not save Lil Squizzy. He's just awful. Alright.
It's been 100 wrecks, yeah, I flipped a couple packs. Whole crew commit illegal acts, yeah, we riding Cadillacs. It's been 100 wrecks, yeah, I flipped a couple packs. Whole crew commit illegal acts, yeah, we. Still a couple beats.
This is really good. From what I'm hearing, it's already better than Lil Squizzy's entire verse. Young Mason sounds a lot more natural. His lyrics are a lot better already. He said he stole a couple beats, which makes sense because it sounds like they stole this beat as well. From what I'm hearing, like, Young Mason's really just carrying Lil Squizzy. I don't know what the point of Lil Squizzy being on the song is. It's also labeled as Lil Squizzy featuring Young Mason, but really Young Mason did all the heavy lifting here. That's probably why it's posted to his SoundCloud instead of Lil Squizzy's. Lil Squizzy is just awful. Let's keep going.
We talk, it's just a meet and greet. Cause you watch what I do and offend you be, and you follow me like it's your belief. Shut up, boy, no you don't beef. Please don't risk your life over problems with me. I can count up racks like 1, 2, 3. I'm a prodigy with a diamond piece. And I wear my cross cause I love my God. Boy, do not cross me for the love of God. Or like Roddy Rich, put you in a box. My boy's 10 for 10 like we shooting shots.
So, that was one of the greatest rap bars I've ever heard ever. That goes toe to toe with bars from people like Kendrick or J. Cole. He said he wears his cross because he loves his God, and then he threatens to not cross him for the love of God, or, like Roddy Ricch, he'll put you in a box. Now, obviously, Roddy Ricch made a song called The Box, and I think what Young Mason's referring to here is something like a coffin, not an actual box, you know? But either way, that's just an amazing bar. He seems to be one of the greatest lyricists I've ever heard in my life. I hope he drops more music, but at the same time, he seems to be good friends with this Lil Squizzy guy, and I hope Lil Squizzy doesn't drop more music. So I really hope they can separate sometime soon, just so we can get some real music out here from Ligonier, Indiana.
The shots at me that I hear and see, they don't want to see me succeed, but it's fine by me. If you want to leave, just don't lie to me. Let's keep the peace. I can't leave the house if I'm in a bad fit. You ain't really about the action. All you rap about is all your trapping, you big cap and your music trash. Went through it, mine was on the dash. Munchies up, food didn't last. Loco, came up fast, and I made a banger just to make some cash.
Again, I gotta give props to Young Mason on the production here. You know, you can tell Young Mason's voice is already very naturally good, naturally soothing, naturally very deep and sexy probably. But the auto-tune here to just make it sound more fluid with the beat is very good. Almost, I would say perfect. He might be the greatest producer I've ever heard too. It's just, this is so amazing. This is honestly art. Young Mason's verse is transcendent from rap. It is an art form in and of itself. This is amazing.
Straight doors, that's my alphabet. No love, yeah, you left for dead. No one likes you, wanna fight you. These are signs that you should have read. With the money, we play it smart. JR saved up, bought a car. Eat the beat with all my bars like it was a feast, but now we fed.
Alright, so we're not going to listen to any more Lil Squizzy because he is terrible. But some final notes, I'd say. Young Mason had a minute-long verse from a 3-minute song. Most of the rest of the song was taken up by the same awful chorus by Lil Squizzy. Young Mason really put the backpack on and Lil Squizzy hopped in. He just carried him the whole way. It's truly amazing that Lil Squizzy even decided to be a rapper with how terrible he is. Overall, I would give this song a solid 8 out of 10. I think it balances out because Lil Squizzy's part was probably a 0 out of 10 and Young Mason's was probably a 16 out of 10. So overall, it just really balances out, and I think that's a fair judgment. So if you guys have any more Young Mason songs you want me to listen to, leave them in the comments. If you have any more Lil Squizzy songs, please unsubscribe from me and just never try to contact me ever. Alright, that's all guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace out.